Hey, Steve Zook here. Welcome back to Pokesoo Channel. I've been real busy lately. I've been in the recording studio working on original music with some very interesting people, and as well as running my guitar business. So I thought, heck, I haven't done a guitar instruction video for a while. One of my good customers and friends out there, Douglas, who bought a jazz guitar from me, sent me a great video of Wes Montgomery. So, whoa. Okay, just a very light subject today. Going to talk about Wes Montgomery style. Honestly, though, like people, there's been a lot of great information out there, I guess, but I think too many people just talk about the octave work of Wes Montgomery, and obviously the octave work is beautiful, and it's, the quintessential, he pretty much wrote the map on that, and it's beautiful stuff, but what I want to talk about a little bit today, which is, like I said, not an easy subject to explain or discuss, is maybe some of the consciousness, the musical mind behind his single note lines. Because the single note lines, to me, are the quintessential jazz guitar lines. If nothing else, the fluidity and the tone that Wes played, and the fact that he did it with a thumb is even more amazing, right? But what I want to talk about is a little bit of his construction of single note lines, and I'm just going to just dip into this ever so slightly, because it kind of coincides with something that's been going through my mind, and which I discuss a little bit in my guitar ladder system, which is what I call phrase memory. Phrase memory involves almost like muscle memory, but it's a mental memory where you've worked on a certain scale or a certain arpeggio or whatever it might be to the point where you're very familiar with it, and then once you're familiar with that, that's kind of synced into your database, so to speak. You've downloaded that into your head. You can then, as you're playing or being creative or practicing or improvising, because compositional skills, and I believe playing skills in general are based on improvisational skills. If you practice improvisation every day for a couple hours and really focus and work hard on creating new ideas and exploring the different colors of music, you just make quantum leaps. And that's what the guitar ladder course is all about, but it's really got some great information and cycles that will just really open up your musical mind. But to do a brief example here, because this could easily be a very long session. If you take a dominant 13 chord, which is 1, 3, 5, flat 7, 9, 11, 13. Okay, now there's the notes, okay? Now, the dominant chord can be the 5 chord in the key of G. I kind of come from the school that, you can do anything. I have 10 different systems of improvisation I discussed in the guitar ladder system. But what I just want to briefly talk about here, and I have a feeling this is going to end up being 10 videos, is if you practice over, for instance, this, okay? This is a D13. Obviously, you could do, a combination of a G major scale. Building melodies is key, and I think that's part of what was so brilliant and genius about Wes, is that he was able to visualize these incredible melodies and phrasing and fluidity, and he was able to bubble into his phrase memory, and he was able to really kind of pick and choose what he wanted to do in terms of how to express a certain color, whether it be a dominant 13 or bluesy or whatever it might be. So as just a very brief example, and I'll do a ton more of these, if you take the arpeggio, okay, now Pat Martino would maybe do an approach with dotted eighths, like, maybe he got that from Wes, because I know he used to jam with Wes. So I think that's one really great way, if you want to call it Wesisms. And certainly Wes wasn't the only one to do dotted eighth feel, but just for sake of doing this video and trying to share information, I've got to kind of, take a side here, right? So you could do that in dotted eighths. You could do triplets, right? This is on the 1, 3, 5, flat 7, 9, 11, 13. You can chromaticize it. But what I want to talk about here, that's one of my observations, and I think growing as a musician, a big, huge part of it is listening to other music and observing it and thinking about it and asking your mind, and your spirit, hell, what's some of the keys there? What are they doing? What are they inferring? What's their harmonic implications and stylistic articulations? Say that quick 20 times. Anyway, so there's a jet. So here we have these notes. And I notice when I listen to a lot of Wes, I tend to hear this beautiful bubble thing, and so the best way I can do it is just to play it. So as opposed to maybe playing more like in straight rhythm, right? whether it's like that or, you know, triplets, you kind of, that's you kind of bubble it out like that. So you're kind of doing these notes quickly. I'm not super warmed up right now. Hear that? So as opposed to maybe just, you know, doing those notes in whatever way you're doing, you kind of right? So I think what was so brilliant about Wes, at least from my point of view, is that I think in his head when he heard this chord, or he wanted to create a dominant sound, I think his mind was able to kind of latch on to all these notes in the G major scale, the arpeggio note, you know, and I think he was able to, you know, to superimpose and mesh together all these different ideas and just kind of let go and let, you know, the universe play through him, or the one-minded, whatever you want to call it. So I mean, like I said, I know this is a huge subject, but I think it's a really valid, you know, point that, like, and that's why I teach in my guitar ladder system. When you're playing over like a dominant 13, get to know the related major scale of that, you know, get to know other ways to superimpose, practice, you know, other notes and see, you know, how does that sound over that, you know, experiment. But just like with the augmented riff, this riff, where if I bubble it more, hear that? I'm not, you know, I'm kind of accelerating the phrase as I'm going into it. And I think that's what I'm trying to share here about observation I make of Wes's playing. When he goes into a phrase, he kind of accelerates that phrase. And I've actually talked about this before with blues scales. I've been talking about it for years, actually. But I think it's a really good place to begin to wrap your mind around Wes Montgomery's harmonic implications, you know, is, like I said, get that bubble, whether it's that riff or an augmented. See, you kind of accelerate it. So boy, I better stop. This is never going to download. But yeah, I mean, we can talk about Wes Montgomery, about his octaves and whatnot, but I really want to talk about his single note lines, and so I'm going to be discussing phrase memory and, you know, creating color and creating fluidity and kind of bubbling those arpeggios. All right, take care. This is for sale, by the way. Beautiful, beautiful guitar. It's mint condition Samick, big, you know, L5 size, 17-inch jazz. It's gorgeous, man. Really, I'm really blown away with how good it looks in the black like that. In fact, a neighbor came over here the other day and she's like, "Whoa, what's that?" She doesn't even play guitar. Her husband's a musician, artist, producer. But yeah, this is available with a beautiful case, $549. If you don't want the case, I could go a little bit less, but it's a really nice guitar. You probably want the case. If you're interested in this, you can call me, 714-548-0385. But yeah, there's something about a big, wide black guitar. It's just gorgeous, man. It's just beautiful. And I don't know what it is, but it's something about the paint. I've had 175s in the past, which are okay guitars, but I even had a 62. But there's something about when a guitar is painted black, or like even kind of a cream color, there's something in the tone that it creates. This guitar played unplugged has a pop to it, has an acoustic quality, kind of an analog reverb pop to it that sounds really cool. And then there's something about, like I said, when a guitar has kind of a thick finish like this, I think for a jazz box, maybe you get less feedback, a little bit more focus, a little bit. It seems to dial into that beautiful jazz tone a little bit better without as much maybe phase cancellations going on and things of that nature that oftentimes happen with a big guitar, just like a big speaker enclosure. So, all right, this is probably going to take forever to download. But yeah, this is really a gorgeous guitar. I'm really enjoying playing it. I've got another Samick coming in right now, a beautiful blonde one, and I've got another blonde one for sale with Holly Quill. I've always got a ton of used jazz guitars for sale because I just love them and I just buy them constantly. Could be worse addictions, right? All right, take care.